Hey, well, I'm Pastor Tyrone. Welcome again to Bell Road Church. Glad that you're here with us this morning. We're starting a new series called Culture Wins. And so in this series, we're going to walk through all the core values of our church. And so before we dive into core values and why this is important and talk about culture, what this all means, we're going to hit our mission and our vision because this kind of sets up where we're going here this morning. And so the mission of Bell Road Church is, and if you've been around for a while, you've heard this before, it is to love people, live like Jesus, and lead others to Him. That's our mission. That's what we want to do. That's how we want to live. That's what we want to be all about on a regular basis. And that's something you and I can do on our own individually. Yeah. And we can do it together, which we do that as well. So today, you and I, we can just love people. And we can grow in living like Jesus and look for opportunities, be open to lead others to Him. There's no greater privilege than to lead someone to Jesus. To be a part of that is the greatest thing you and I could ever experience in your life. Think about the coolest thing that could ever happen, and that's even better. So that's the mission. That's how, how we're trying to live and what we want to be all about. So the vision is this, and the vision is like the big picture of where we want to go, where we're going in the future. The church that we see. Okay, so we see a church full of passionate people who reach the city with the gospel of Jesus. That's like the one sentence version of the big vision that we got. So we want to be passionate people. And I know you guys, I know a lot of you guys are into lots of different things. You know, we're passionate about things in life, right? We're passionate about our jobs. People get passionate about relationships, family, passionate about money, passionate about, sports, who's going to win the game today, all that kind of stuff. We get passionate about those things, and that's okay. But I think that we should be more passionate about Jesus than anything else in our life. And so that's the church that we see. It's full of people that are just passionate about Jesus, who reach the city with the gospel of Jesus, the city that He has placed us in. We want to reach it with the great news of the life-changing gospel of Jesus. And so then the rest of the vision is, it's big, like I said, so there's quite a few other sentences that include the vision because we just couldn't limit it to one sentence. And so it goes on to say, we see a movement of disciples who make other disciples because of our passion for Jesus and His mission. That's why we're doing Disciple Maker. We don't want to just make disciples. We want to make disciples who make disciples, who make disciples. We want a discipleship movement. Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate that. Was it that bad? Hallelujah. Okay. We see a movement of leaders who empower people to dream, be creative, and become all that God has purposed for their life. Man, I want to empower you to dream. I believe God's placed dreams inside of your life. And I want to see God birth those, stir those inside of you, and you pursue them. We see a movement of pioneers willing to take the message of Jesus to our neighborhoods and every sector of our culture. I just pray that we'd have a pioneer spirit. Everywhere we go, it's like, okay, I'm going to be Jesus here. I'm bringing the kingdom of God here. We see our property as a gathering place where the church and the community can intersect. And we see a church that continues to be the movement that Jesus started years ago to announce and advance His kingdom here on earth. That's the vision. That's where we're going. So again, that sets up what we're talking about here as we talk about culture wins and core values. Now, there's this interesting quote that John Maxwell said. He said, "Culture eats vision for lunch." Have you heard this before? Maybe you heard the Peter Drucker version. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. John Maxwell wanted to focus on vision, changed the meal. Culture eats vision for lunch. And that kind of makes sense when you really begin to think about it. See, it doesn't matter what the vision is. You could have dreams for your life, but if the culture of your life, how you live and behave, doesn't line up with taking you in the direction to your dreams and your vision, you're never going to see it. It's not going to happen. We can have this amazing vision like we have here. We can put it on paper. We can put it on the walls. We can get excited about it. But if our culture doesn't align to us moving towards that vision, then we're never going to see the vision take place because culture eats vision for lunch. And so we got to make sure that our culture is the right kind of culture. We got to be intentional about the culture that we live. And so here's the message here this morning. It's this. The values that we live by create culture. The values that you live by create culture. Now, culture is this interesting thing, and it's kind of an intangible. It's something you kind of feel, you kind of sense when you walk in here this morning. You kind of feel and sense the culture of the church. It's very intangible kind of a feeling, but it's created by how we live and interact together. So some feelings are tied to it, but it goes even deeper and broader to that. We're going to talk about being intentional with our values so that we can create the right kind of culture. Because you can have values, but that doesn't mean you're actually going to live by them, right? It's the values that you live by, not the values that you have, that create the right kind of culture. So whatever values you live by creates that culture. Whatever culture you have in your life, in your family, at work, whatever we have now, it's because it's how we have lived. So you ever heard of Enron before? Anybody familiar with the story of Enron? Okay, almost 20 years ago is when this thing imploded. Okay, Enron in 2001 was the 5th largest company in the United States. Massive, growing, allegedly, with all appearance, it was this amazing company, great leadership and all this kind of stuff. But then within a matter of months, it began to implode and fell apart and declared bankruptcy. It's like the largest declaration of bankruptcy ever in the United States. Because come to find out, there was lots of issues going underneath the surface of the company. There was some leaders that were doing very criminal stuff. And a lot of the executives were actually pocketing personally millions of dollars off of the books. And they were hiding it in hopes that no one would ever catch it. Well, they got caught. They got found out. And then in the end, one executive was charged with 35 counts of fraud and insider trading. It's a big no-no. Another was charged with conspiracy, securities fraud, wire fraud, bank fraud, and making false statements. So there's lots of things that were going on underneath the surface that was very unhealthy, very toxic, and even illegal by the leadership of this allegedly amazing culture. All the while, okay, so as the America watches this company just collapse and fall, it's ironic because when you looked at the culture on paper and the company on paper, they had these 4 core values posted on all of the employee handbooks in the lobby. It was chiseled in marble in their main lobby of this amazing building that they had. These are their 4 core values: communication, respect, integrity, and excellence. They had great core values. They just forgot to live by them. See, it's the culture, it's the values that you live by that create the culture. And if the culture is toxic for too long, it'll tear down the organization. It'll tear down the business. It'll tear down the family. So we're going to talk about our values. And as we talk about the values of the church, I'd encourage you to think about your values. What are your personal core values? Do you have any? And if you don't, feel free this month as we're going through our core values to pray about that, to think about that. Because I think it's good for us to really think about what are the things that I'm really have strong convictions about in my life and that I really, really, really value. And then I want to live according to those values. I've done that as a family. We have Rinta family core values as well. We talk about this and how we want to live and what's really important to us. And so I think this is a cool thing that you could do personally for yourself and for your family. We're going to walk through the Bell Road Church core values. And the big reason for this is not just so that we know what they are, but so that we can live these out. Because we know that our values create the culture that we want. And so we got to make sure we are intentional about how we live. Okay, so it's not just about knowing them, it's about living them, and we all need to do this together. You with me? Number 1, the first one we're going to talk about, there's 10 of them. The first one we're going to talk about is the value of growth. We value growth here at Bell Road Church. This is how we describe it, and this is how we articulate it. We will pursue continual growth and improvement as individuals and as a church. This requires hunger and humility on the part of each individual. And I love those 2 things. Those 2 things are very important for each of us. Hunger. If I don't have a desire or a hunger to grow, I'm not going to grow. Hunger and humility. To walk in and operate in humility. Pride hinders us from growing. You ever seen that? You ever learned that? So hunger and humility on the part of each individual. We will never stop allowing God to change us and our church, and will aim to honor him with the spirit of excellence because God deserves our best. As the people grow, the church will grow. And it is God's will for his church to grow both spiritually and numerically. It's a question for you. Do you believe it's God's will for you to grow? Do you really believe that? I hope so, because it's all over the pages of his book. He's given us. Like, God wants you to grow. He wants to do a work in your life, in your heart. He wants you to walk in freedom. He wants to set you free from things. He wants you to go from glory to glory to glory. He wants to transform your life. And so this requires us allowing him to change us. Change can be difficult, but it's always worth it when it's done right. And so we got to go with this change process because God wants us to grow. So I hope you believe this is God's will for your life. This is a conviction of ours. God wants us to grow. And he wants our church to grow. And that's not just a numerical thing, it's a spiritual thing. But, a couple times in Scripture we see that God says he wants everyone to be saved. Jesus himself said, I will build my church. I will build my church. And so there's so much that speaks to he wants us to grow spiritually, but he also wants his church to grow numerically. So the question is, are you growing? How are you doing with this? Are you really growing in your life? Now, within this last year, as we really began to talk about growth and discipleship, I've said several times on occasion that if you're going to be around here at Bell Road Church and make this a part of your church community and your church home, you're going to feel uncomfortable at times if you're not growing. And I unapologetically say that because it's not my job just to always be nice to you. My job is to encourage you, to push you outside of your comfort zone. I want to see you grow. I want to help you grow. I don't think Jesus died on the cross so you could live a comfortable life. I don't think Jesus went to the cross just so you and I could be happy. Okay, Jesus didn't go to the cross so that you and I could just work our job, expand our 401k, and live the American dream so that we could eat, drink, and be merry and be happy. Okay, no, Jesus didn't go to the cross for that. He went so that you and I could have life. And that life requires you and I to first die to ourselves and follow him and surrender him. And then he begins this change process where we begin to grow. Okay, so that's what Jesus has in mind, in store for us. He's not out to make your life comfortable and nice and safe. Sorry to burst your bubble. But Jesus wants you to grow. And we want you to grow. That's why this is a conviction of ours. Okay, so it requires hunger and humility. But pride blocks that humility. God's not out to hurt your pride. He's out to kill it. Because it hinders us from growing. So let's talk about this. Okay, so Paul says these few verses here in 1 Corinthians chapter 3. He says, what after all is Apollos? And what is Paul? Only servants through whom you came to believe, as the Lord has assigned to each his task. I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God made it grow. So neither he who plants nor he who waters is anything, but only God who makes things grow. So the cool thing is that he uses us. God uses us to help other people grow, and that's important for us to know. But really, it's God that does the work. As we allow him, God does the work. He does the growing. It's on him. And so we've got to allow him to move and work in our life and grow. So how do we do this? There's a key principle that I think we need to be aware of, and it's found in John chapter 15. And Jesus says these words the night before he goes to the cross. This is what Jesus says. He says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If a man remains in me and I in him, he will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. So here's the key principle to growth is you and I learn this principle of remaining in Jesus. Maybe your translation says abiding, that cool word, abiding. It's learning what that means, to abide in him, to remain in him, to stay connected at him, growing in my awareness of his presence in my life at all times. One pastor said it's learning to just relax in him too. I love that. So it's remaining in him. So you and I learning to remain in him every single day. And so when we come into these gatherings and these moments, we become aware of him and we're connected to him. This is great. We need this. But come on, later on today, tomorrow when we get up, we got to learn to remain in him. And that's how you grow. You pull the branch away from the from the vine, and what happens? It stops growing. It stops growing, then it eventually dies, and so we got to stay connected to him. We're the branches. Jesus says, I'm the vine, so stay connected to me, and you'll grow. And then through that, fruit is going to happen. And so, man, if you stay connected to God, he'll stay connected to you. It's remaining in Jesus. Okay, so that's one key to growth. The second key is remaining in community. We desperately need this. And at times when God is really wanting to do a work in us, it's amazing how we often isolate ourselves and separate ourselves from community when God can really begin to do a work of growth in our life. You know, there are times where we can grow all by ourselves. That is possible, but holistically throughout our life, God's going to use community to help us to grow. As we learn how to get along with each other, as we learn to handle hurts, you hurt people, they hurt you, and you learn to work through all that kind of stuff, and you're learning new ideas, and just being in community and groups and different things. We grow in community. That's how God designed this. We need each other. And so those are two very important keys that we want to lean into constantly, is learning how to remain in Jesus and remaining in community. Okay, so within Bell Road Church, there's a couple things we really like to focus on within our community to help you grow. And one of them is serving. We want to help you find a place to serve. Another one is getting you into disciple maker group. Okay, these are first steps for us. And so we're putting together really a strategy of growth. And so we think about, as people come into our church, what are we going to do? What's the plan? What's the strategy? It's more than just showing up on a Sunday, right? Okay, that's good, but that's just a part of us following Jesus. And so what do we want to do? We want to take people on a process, and we want to make it simple and clear. So someone comes to Bell Road Church, say you're new to Bell Road Church, even new to faith, doesn't matter. Maybe you've been following Jesus, moving to the area, you're new to the church, whatever. So the next simple step is to go to Discover BRC, which Amy talked about. It's next Sunday during this service if you want to go to that. If you're new to Bell Road Church in the last few months, you want to know more about who we are, what we're all about, what's going on, what's important to us, then go to Discover BRC. So it's a simple, easy next step. And so if you have friends that come and you're just talking to somebody and they want to know, okay, hey, what do I do here? I'm new here. You say, easy. I know what you got to do. Go to Discover BRC. And you can explain it to them and just send them that way. It's always the second Sunday of every month. Unless it's not, but it usually is. Okay, second Sunday of every month. So then from Discover BRC, we want to get you into those two things. We want to help you find a place to serve if you haven't found a place yet, and get you in a disciple maker group. That's why we really talk about disciple maker groups, because this is a big part of our growth and us moving forward. We got plans for after that, but this is where we're at right now, holistically as a church. But then, just so you know, even when we're all done going through Disciple Maker, as new people come into the church, this is the simple steps. Go to Discover BRC, help them find a place to serve, get them Disciple Maker, and then, there's too many D words there. And then we go on from here. But this is just the beginning part of our growth strategy is what this is right here. And you can see love and live. It's all part of the strategy here. Love, live, eventually lead. We want you to grow. This is a big deal. And we want to take people on this path of growth here in our church. The goal of growth really is this: to live like Jesus. It's that simple, that easy. It's that middle part of our mission statement, to live like Jesus. We want to grow in living like him more and more and more and more. And I want to invite our friend PJ up here to the front. PJ is a guy that has modeled this in the last couple years. So we forgot, why don't you grab that mic right there on the ground, and Adrian, if you can help make sure you get that going there. Test 1, 2, testing, there it is. Okay. So, hey, thanks for joining us, man. And why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little about you and your family to start off.
My name is PJ Rodriguez. I am married to Lynn. We've been married almost 16. In a few weeks, it'll be 16 years.
A few weeks?
A few weeks.
All right, come on.
And we have 2 kids, Tessa and Kai. We've been coming here to BRC for about 3.5 years.
And we got a wonderful picture of your awesome family here.
Yeah.
And this was on their fun European vacation just a few months ago.
Yes, yes. We were, that was us getting ready to go into the Louvre Museum in Paris.
Yeah,
I was very.
Anyone want to go there? The Louvre? Yeah, come on.
It was a fun trip. Yep.
I can imagine. And you also went to the Lego World Headquarters.
That is correct. My son Kai is a big Lego fan, and he's been asking us for years to take him to the Lego house. And there's a documentary on Netflix. We had to watch that. He knew all about it.
I've seen it. There's a couple of them. There's one called The Brickumentary, which I've watched. That was really good, fascinating stuff. Okay, so question for you then, as we talk about growth and in discipleship, 2 years ago, what was your... Oh, that sounds good. I just want to, am I hearing things or what's... Okay, this is going to be really good now, PJ. Discipleship. If I mentioned the word discipleship to you, what was your thoughts on discipleship, and how did you feel about the word or even the concept of discipleship?
Yeah, so that would have been, or it was scary. It was a scary word to me. I grew up in a Catholic home. I went to service on Sundays. I continued to go to service until I got married, and then Lynn and I looked for a church for us, for our family. We went to a couple of different churches until we found Bell Road, and it just was something that I did not feel that I would. That I could be a part of. I'd never been in any discipleship, not a Bible study, nothing. I was just someone that was going along, trying to be a good, comfortable Christian. But I did not think it was something I could be a part of or be someone that could contribute to a group like that.
Okay. And I think even as you share that and being honest with that, that's a lot of people feel that way. So then last year I asked you to join me and do this discipleship group and be a part of this discipleship relationship, and so you did. Can you explain how that went for you, how that felt in the beginning, and what happened through that?
So you came to me and asked me if I would join, and I was scared, a little concerned, a little worried, not sure that it was something I could do. But once I got over that, and then we met, you gave us the goals of the group, the commitments of the group, and I was like, I can do this. This is nothing hard. This is nothing that I couldn't do. So I took that step, and then we would meet, and I thought these are we would share and grow in our time together, and I just enjoyed being able to be a part of that, and getting the tools that I needed to continue in my relationship with the Lord, to build my relationship, to strengthen my relationship with Him, and that was just a great experience for me to be a part of, and to give me the tools I needed to continue on my path.
Cool. And so it helped you personally. Anything else you could add to that? How did it impact family and work life and all that?
Yeah, so again, I wasn't sure it was something I wanted to do. And then obviously it was put on my heart. I didn't know it at the time, but the Lord obviously knew what was coming. And there was a time as we were going through the discipleship that I needed to be there for my family. We had a very strenuous family crisis hit us during that time. And being a part of the group and just having the tools that I needed for our family to get through it. I was able to pray with Lynn nightly about the situation. I was able to go to you men in our group and share what we were going through. And you guys were there for us and for our family to pray for me and Lynn and our family and what we were going through. And I know that was something that helped us get through that, helped us manage through that situation.
I love it. What I love about you, PJ, I love about this guy is he's a regular dude. He's like one of the bros. The guys can I connect with him, just really cool. And you're not the most outgoing guy that there is, which is most of us too. And, more quiet and shy until you get talking with people. And here you were stepping out of your comfort zone, doing something that you were a little unsure of, but like, man, I know I need to, I know I want to, and it was cool to watch what God did in your life and how you really began to grow. I just commend you for that, man. I love what God continues to do in your life, and I've never told you this, but even Lynn even kind of messaged me and Amy and said, I love what God's doing in PJ. And your wife was just praising God because it was, for her, your growth was impacting her profoundly and your family. And so I just say that just to echo that, it really was not just you. It began to affect other people. And now here you are, not in a group, just in a group, but you're actually leading. He's leading one of our disciple maker groups, and that's cool. And something you would have never thought of, right? And this is one of the people like, yeah, okay, Tyrone, I know if you get us on this path of growth, you're going to put me in leadership and doing something right here, right? Okay, this scares us all, and so here you are, you're leading, and so how's that going? How does that feel?
Yeah, so you are definitely good. You want to push us. You want to get us out of our comfort zone, like you said. And you had asked me.
I keep looking in the Bible for that spiritual gift of pushing people out of their comfort zone. I'm sure it's in here somewhere because I know God gave it to me, but I haven't found it yet. But yeah, I'm just going to keep unapologetically doing that. Yeah.
So I had said no before, but it was on you to continue to push me, and I'm thankful you did. I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I was someone that could be a part of that, or even lead a group of men. Yeah. But it's just been so rewarding for me and my family. It's made me a better husband, a better father, a better friend. And just giving me the tools I need to help our family and help other men, help lead other men. I'm not by means perfect at all. There's only one perfect person out there, our perfect God. Mm-hmm. But I just know that getting together with the men, I'm in the Monday Men group, so it's a bunch of guys and guys that we can just share and grow and learn from each other. It gave me an opportunity to learn from them. And just to see us all grow together. That's just a rewarding feeling to see each of us go through that. And just, it was a big help to me and our family.
Cool.
I would say one of the things I saw for me going through this, it helped me build my relationship with the Lord. I wanted to make that first step. Yeah. I was not sure that it was something I wanted to do, but I took it. I took that first step, and going into those groups, it's and having the other men there, we all had one thing in common, and that was we wanted to grow our relationship with the Lord. Yeah, we may not all be in the same situation, same age group, or whatever, but we all have one thing in common, and that was we wanted to grow our relationship with the Lord. Okay. And it just was very rewarding to do that.
So for that guy out there, even the gals out there that are feeling what you felt in the past before, it's like, I'm a little nervous, I don't know if I can get involved, I'm nervous to grow, what God would do in my life, it's uncomfortable, what would your encouragement be to them?
Yes, I would just say, if it's on your heart to make that step, don't be afraid. Join a group. There's nothing to be afraid of. We're not in there to judge anybody, we're there to just share and grow and lean on each other, to be there for each other, and to help each other along. We all want to come to know God better, and it's just a great way to come together as men and do that, to grow and share with each other.
One of the reasons why we're having PJ share his story is, well, first, it's just cool to hear a story, isn't it? To hear what God's doing in someone's life and how he's grown, but also because we want this to become a normal part of our church, that you would be in a group and you are growing. And eventually you're going to be helping other people grow, because that's what God wants you to do. That's your calling on life, and you can do it. God has equipped you, and he wants to empower you to help other people grow, and it's not as scary as you think it is. But we want this to be normal as we do more discipleship and do this. This is going to be a normal part of the culture of our church, and so we're trying to normalize this. And again, I'll just say thanks, man. Appreciate you. I'm proud of you. I commend you for your growth. Keep growing. Thank you for all that you do to serve us and to help us and to help other people grow. My one last question is, who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl today?
Well, let's see.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Is this Chiefs red right here?
Yeah,
Is this?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Hey, can we give a hand to PJ? Thank him for sharing. Oh, that's fun. That's great. So, growth. Can you tell it's a big deal? It's a core conviction of us. This is something we value, and the values we live by create culture. We want this to become a part of the culture of your life, our life, and your family, that we're all growing. Second culture we're going to talk about is health. Health. Okay, so these two really go hand in hand, and I got two more I'm going to hit. I'm not going to spend as long as on these two as the first two. I had this crazy idea to tackle 3 core values in the first week. I don't know why, but here we go. Health. Here's how we explain health and articulate this. Health. What does this mean? Yes. In every way you're thinking right now, health. Okay, healthy things grow, which leads us back to that growth thing. Okay, so we don't need to hit that again, but it's important to note that it takes intentionality in order to create a healthy environment that enables growth to happen. We will work hard to be healthy individuals who build healthy families and ministries. This is our goal, that you and I would be healthy. Did you know that healthy families are made up of healthy family members? It's kind of funny how that happens, right? So, did you know that healthy churches are made up of healthy members and healthy leaders as well? And so we want to live healthy so we can create health to be part of the culture of our life and our church. Love what Proverbs 4 says. It speaks to this. Proverbs 4. There's that card. I was looking for that. My son, pay attention to what I say. Listen closely to my words. Do not let them out of your sight. Keep them within your heart, for they are life to those who find them and health to a man's whole body. What is life? What is health? It's his words, okay? It's the word of God, and he's specifically even talking about wisdom. We need not just earthly wisdom, but heavenly wisdom from God, and hold that close to our hearts, to pay attention to it so that we can find life and have health to our whole body. I love that it speaks to that. And it says, above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. So heart speaks to who we are, the core of our being. And if our heart's not healthy, we're not healthy. You know, and it's not just a physical thing. Like, okay, if you have a heart attack physically, what do? You go to the doctor, right? You're going to have surgery. They're going to perform heart surgery so that you can get on a path to health, right? So once you get back healthy again. So same is true in our emotional life, our mental life, and our spiritual life. Sometimes God needs to perform a little heart surgery on us so that we can get back to health. And we got to allow him to do his work in us so that we can become healthy again. And sometimes that hurts. Oftentimes that's uncomfortable. We don't like the process, but God says, I want you to be healthy. And so I promise you, this is worth it. And so we allow him to do a little heart surgery within us. Now think about this. Jesus had 12 disciples. He invested, poured his life into 12 men. But one of them didn't make it. You ever wonder why? Why didn't Judas make it following Jesus? What happened along the way? You think about Judas. Like, what a great setup he had. He had the greatest pastor ever. Greatest leader ever in human history. Greatest coach, greatest mentor, greatest counselor ever. He walked, lived with Jesus. Jesus poured his life into him, yet Judas didn't make it. So something happened along the way in his heart differently from the other 11, and he allowed the enemy to creep into his heart. He didn't guard his heart. Whether it was jealousy or bitterness or whatever, Judas didn't make it in the end. And that just goes to show us it has nothing to do with leadership in our life. It has everything to do with how you and I guard our heart. You can have good leadership, you can have bad leadership, and you can still be okay if you guard your heart. Judas had the greatest leader ever, and he still didn't make it. So leadership isn't always the answer. It's how you and I guard our own heart. It's our responsibility. Your health, and the health of your heart is your responsibility. So guard your heart. Make sure you deal with sickness in your life. Okay, so if you find yourself in this place where there's sickness you got to deal with, do it. Just like you would do it physically, do it for your mental life, your emotional life, and your spiritual life. That's how health is created. You got to confront sickness so that health can happen. Because health doesn't just automatically happen. It takes intentionality. Okay, so this is why we have tough conversations sometimes in our ministries here in our church. If there's something going on that we need to deal with, we want health. So let's talk through it and work through this so that we can establish health in our ministries, in our church. We've got to confront the issues so that we can be healthy. Just like you do with physical sickness, you want to do the same with that emotional, that mental, and that spiritual thing. Health is a big deal. And here's what I know is that health feels good. You know when you're sick, you're laid out, and you're just laid out for days, and finally you come back, and you're like, you feel good again. You're like, oh, wow, this is great. It feels good to be back among the land of the living. Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay, I can get back to normal life again. I'm not all there, but I feel so much better. Like even 50% feels amazing compared to where you were, right? Yeah. And it's just, this feels horrible just to be laid out and to be sick, especially if it's like a flu bug, right? When you're puking and you're doing all that. I hate that, right? It's a stomach thing, and you just, like, at least when I got like this head cold, I can lay on the couch and I can watch like Lord of the Rings for 10 hours and just kind of veg and just do nothing. But like when I'm puking, I can't even concentrate. Like it's horrible. But then when you finally get healthy, you're like, feels good. Health feels good. Do whatever you can to make sure you grow in health. And then healthy things grow. All right, so the last core value is this. We love our city. This is good. This is important to us, guys. We love our city. So this is how we explain this. We're a church that is for our city, not just in our city. We will serve and love every person, every neighborhood, every workplace, every sector of society that we possibly can. We want this city to not just know us by our love, but also to be changed by our love. That's very important to distinguish there. We don't want them to just know us by our love, but to be changed by our love and how we love them. So Jesus said these words in John 13. He says, "A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you're my disciples." Who will know? Everyone will know that you're my disciples if you love one another. So we want people to know us by love, but we also want their life to be changed by our love as well. So Paul says it this way in Galatians. He says, "You, my brothers and sisters, are called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge in the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command. Love your neighbor as yourself." So Paul does the summary of Jesus' summary. Because Jesus has said, love God, love people. And then at the very end, he's like, hey, here's a new command. Let's just narrow it all down to one. Just love your neighbor. Love one another, okay? So Paul's giving another summary. Hey, this is what we're all called to do, guys, to love our neighbor. So let's get practical for a few moments and talk about how we can love our neighbor. Some of you have this "Who's my neighbor" card. Some of you don't. In fact, these are at the end of every row. If you need one of these "Who's my neighbor" cards or one of these other blessed strategy cards, these are at the end of every row. So if you need one, grab those right now. Some of us already have these, but this is, again, just a good reminder for some of us. But a new tool for the rest of us on how we can live out this whole thing of loving our city and loving the people around us. So this "Who's my neighbor" card, this is what we do with this. We fill in the names of all the neighbors around us in the homes or the apartments around us. And then this essentially becomes a prayer card. Begin to pray for them by name. Could it be that God placed you in that home, not just so you could have a roof over your head, but so you could actually love on some people that are living right next to you? Maybe? Is it possible that God gave you the gift of that home, not just so you could have a place to lay your head and a place to get comfortable and relax, but so you could also have a group of people right next to you that you could love on and serve and reach? How do you think God views our neighborhood? In your neighborhood? So this becomes a way for us to really pray for those people. And here's what I've learned. What I pray for, I act on. What I pray for, I take action on. And so I'd encourage you to fill in those names of your neighbors and just begin to pray. God, move in their life. Lord, help me to just be a light. Help me to speak words of encouragement. Give me opportunities to connect with my neighbors. And then take advantage of those when they come. So this blessed strategy is just a specific way that you and I could be a blessing and serve and connect with specific people. Maybe it's a neighbor, maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's a family member, but love this blessed strategy. It's an acrostic. And the B stands for begin with prayer, okay? So this, remember, like this is a prayer card. But it's good to begin with prayer. I'm praying for this individual. I'm praying for this family. So begin just by praying. And then L is listen. So I'm looking for opportunities to connect with them, and then I talk with them, and I'm listening to their story. I'm getting to know them. I'm listening. Who are they? What's important to them? Eventually, the goal is to sit down and have a meal with them. E stands for eat. It's amazing how when we sit down and have a meal with people, we just talk. We just have fun talking. People will open up in those moments too, right? The first S stands for serve. So look for ways now as you get to know them. How can I serve them? How can I help them? How can I show them that I care for them? And the last S is share your story. When the opportunity comes, take a moment to share what God has done in your life and who he is. Share your story. It's a simple strategy called the blessed strategy, because it's you and I continuing on really the proclamation that God gave to Father Abraham way back in the day. You will be a blessing to the nations of the world. You and I are still called to be a blessing to the nations, to the people in our world. Bless. Let's bless people. It becomes a specific way that you and I can just love our city. So we're called to do this individually. We get to do it on a day by day by week basis individually, but we get to do it collectively too. We want as a church to love our city. It's why we did Family Month. We just got done with Family Month, and that was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Great time in Family Month. We want the city to know, hey, we're here. We want to have fun with you. We want to connect with you. We care about you. It's why we've done Trunk or Treat in the past. It's why we took our egg hunt off of our property and moved it to Palomino last year. Some of you were part of the Palomino egg hunt. And it was a way for us to go and say, hey, we care about our city. We care specifically about this Palomino neighborhood and community. Let's go and serve them. Let's take the egg hunt there. We never had any intention of starting a church, but wouldn't you know, out of that, God birthed the Spanish church. The only plan was to let's do an egg hunt, and let's serve that community, and then wouldn't you know, God speaks to us and says, let's start a Spanish church, which is meeting right now, and then building next door. That's pretty cool how God moves and works through this, okay? But we just wanted to serve and love our city with the egg hunt. We'll do it again this year too, by the way, in Palomino. We'll be hearing about that in the coming months. That's why we're connected to Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce in North Phoenix, they love Bell Road Church. Did you know this? They love this place. And we got a great relationship with them, great reputation within the Palomino area, and it's growing in North Phoenix, especially with the Chamber of Commerce. In fact, we do a conference, a leadership conference called LeaderCast. It's the largest one-day leadership conference on planet Earth. And we host it right here in this room. For the last couple of years, we've done this in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce. And with that, our relationship has grown, and we're serving businesses and business leaders in our community right here in the sanctuary as they watch a leadership conference simulcasted on the screen here. And it's a lot of fun. I enjoy the conference personally. It's coming up again this May, but it's just another way we can just show the city, hey, we're here and we care and we love you. Just connect with business leaders. There's so many things we want to keep doing, but we want to just love our city the best we can. And it takes all of us, guys. A couple years ago, I threw out this question that many people have mentioned several times since throughout the years. The question was, if our church closed its doors, would the city even know? Would no one even notice? And at the time, I threw it out there and I was scared, like, I don't know if anybody will know. But that's not how I think God has called us to live and operate. I think he's planted us in this city for a reason. And he has a church here in North Phoenix for a reason. And I would say good news is we're growing in this. I'd say there's people here now in North Phoenix that would notice if we actually didn't close our doors. But this is a good question for us to wrestle with, for every church to wrestle with. Because we want to make a city. Again, we don't want to make a difference in our city. We don't want to just be in our city. We want to be for our city, serve our city, and love our city. And it takes all of us, guys. It takes all of us to do this together. So it's important for you and I not to just know our core values, but to live them. Growth, health, and loving our city. Let's live these things out the best that we possibly can. Because values that we live by create culture. And we want the culture of our church to influence the culture of this world, not vice versa. We'll be talking more about culture even in the coming weeks. But, hey, there's a culture that is against the culture we're trying to create. We don't want to hate it. We don't want to talk down about it. We want to love it and infiltrate it in such a way that people, their life is transformed. They don't even realize it. It's encountering the love of Jesus, and culture is changed through the love of Jesus. And so we want our culture to influence the city. That's what we want. So So we got to live intentionally, do this the right way, but it takes all of us. Are you with us in this? Can we do this together the best we possibly can? Keep growing, be healthy, and let's love our city. Would you stand to your feet? We're going to pray. End with a song of prayer, worship here again. You know, a week ago, today, this Sunday morning, something tragic happened, not just for our country, but in our world, really. And a helicopter crashed just outside of Los Angeles. And if you're like me, you've been fixated at the stories and just what's going on. I mean, not just LA is captivated and just is struggling, but the whole world. This is the level of Princess Di worldwide. I don't know if you realize that. The impact of this one helicopter crash because of the influence of Kobe Bryant. And not just him, because him and his daughter going to coach his daughter's game, all of the whole family stuff within that, you know, the different families involved. It's profoundly moving and shocking and tragic. And so, you know, a lot of you know I love sports. I love football, but basketball is my love. And so the basketball world was rocked this last week. And I was grateful to learn that Kobe did know and love God. It's good news. Because, man, when life ends, that's all that matters. It's the only thing that matters. Now, what was cool is to hear all the amazing stories, okay? I was never the biggest Kobe fan as a player, but through the years, he got nicer and nicer. He was a jerk early on because he just wanted to win. And then he realized, okay, I got to be nice to people and work with people, all that kind of stuff. And then, wouldn't you know, even especially in the words of his peers and LeBron James, like he became the greatest dad we've ever seen in the last 3 years of his life. Some values shifted in his life in later years. And he lived, yes, it ended shortly, but he lived his last years the happiest he'd ever lived because his values were in the right place. He was loving and leading and serving his family. And it's just a great reminder of the importance of values, guys. But also a reminder of this. You and I don't know when our life's going to end. It could happen like this. I just want to make sure you're ready. Because that's the number one value we ought to have in our life is, am I in relationship with God or not? And so before we move on with our day, I just want to make sure that you have an opportunity to say yes to Jesus today. Would you close your eyes right now? We're going to pray. Lord, I'm praying for my friends, praying for all of us, praying for our church, God, that we would be a people who really live out what we say we value. Lord, may our values not be lip service and not line up with our actions in our life. Lord, we want to live these things out, Lord, the best we possibly can. So, Lord, help us. Lord, help us, Lord, to keep growing. Help us to work on becoming healthier individuals. Lord, help us to be a church and a people that just loves our city the best we possibly can. Lord, help us to live by our values. Lord, for people that are here this morning that aren't in relationship with you, Lord, I pray that today would be a day where they say yes to you. They make the greatest decision of their life, and they begin following you and serving you. And, man, they just begin to really walk in obedience to you. With your eyes closed, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to that prayer right now. Maybe this is you. Maybe I'm talking about you. Maybe you feel like I'm talking to you even right now. Today's your day to say yes to Jesus. If that's you, I'd love for you to slip your hand up right now. We're just going to pray here this morning and help you move forward in this. Is anybody here that say, yeah, today's my day, Tyrone. I need to say yes to Jesus. I want to make sure I'm right in relationship with him. Thank you. Anybody else say, that's me. Amen. Well, why don't you go ahead and open your eyes and look this way. And I want to just encourage those that are saying, today's my day. In fact, can we just celebrate people that are saying yes to Jesus right now? Come on, it's awesome. Love it.
Thanks again for watching this message of Bell Road Church. We hope that God spoke to you through it. Be sure to connect with us online via Twitter, Facebook, and at bellroadchurch.com.